Welcome to Kingdom Voice. I'm your host. Today's guest is Mayor Linda Joy. She's been a guest on the show a few other times. This just might be her last time on the show as mayor, because she has announced she will not be seeking re-election. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I always enjoy being on your shows.
Oh, I think you took some people by surprise, because you seem to have settled into to a very difficult job. You seem to enjoyed yourself. I don't know if standing on the gallows times is very enjoyable job, but you've been very active. So thus the reason you surprised.
Well, you know,
so
people, they're always
why?
surprised by various things. I came into this position, as you all know, on a special election after the resignation of formerly elected Mayor Beth Barnes, and she resigned and gave explicit reasons why she resigned. There was a special election. I came on board, and my intent was to roll up my sleeves and do what I do professionally. As a turnaround specialist, I fix things. And that's what I did. I looked at the charter. I understood the charter. This is not just to be a mayor. The mayor is charged with being the chief executive officer of the city and is charged with very specific oversight, responsibilities over employees, responsibility over department heads, financial responsibilities, mandatory responsibilities on the council. And so I came in and rolled up my sleeves and went in there to see what was actually the issues and how can we help Newport move forward. And that was my goal. And I took a day-to-day interest in doing that because it is very important to look at contracts, to look at the former fiscal habits, to look at the governance, how it was done, and get us back on the right track so that Newport can grow. And so there you have it. I came in and I did it. I'm sorry, say it again, sir.
How did it work out for you? I know there's been some stiff headwind.
So, you know, you anticipate there's always going to be backlash because people go on the defensive, and unnecessarily so. Just because you're coming in to make changes and fix things doesn't mean that people should be afraid. People are always afraid of change, and they write into their own minds what that change means. Some people have been here for a very long time, and they just think, you know, it should just do it the way we want to do it, and that is what it is, and don't worry about the law. Don't worry about the benefits to the entire community. Don't worry about Newport's position within the state of Vermont. And so I can't look at things that way. I did not approach this position in a political fashion. It is the mayor and the operational CEO. So this isn't a political position. However, I came in, and of course, there's always going to be political nonsense, undercurrents going on. You know, you have people who just want to do what they want to do, want no change, and nobody comes in and tells them what to do. Well, you know, I'm sorry about that, but the CEO does tell you what to do.
And you know, you came into a time, decade or so, was a turbulent period of time for the city. Probably, I think you'd say it really wasn't a time for the city, even though some positive but the whole EB5 scandal. And there's been a lot of controversy within city government. So you came in during a very turbulent period of time. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. In fact, go ahead. I'm sorry. I would definitely do it again. When I come in to fix something, I focus on a commitment I've made. I came in, I told people I didn't have any political aspirations. I was coming in to do the job that the mayor should be doing. And I believe I did come in and do that job and set Newport in a position where they're more compliant. They can now understand how that charter operates, what the responsibilities are of the CEO, who reports to who, and the better way to move forward so that, in fact, we can get out of the rut that they were in and we can actually proceed and be in the better financial position that we're actually going into now, because I've identified the grant monies that were not being collected. We're fixing that. We've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in classification of accounts that needed to be adjusted, the stopping deletion of emails. I mean, who deletes emails? And so stopping that, putting in policies for, I mean, it was a mess. And you're absolutely right. It was a mess. And there was a theme around this city that I found that if you just keep, undercurrents of, we won't accept it, and work against personnel policies that are in place, decide that you're not going to follow the rules and just keep it going with a handful of naysayers, that you're going to be able to combat the change. Well, you know what? You can't do that, because the bottom line is the mayor who is the CEO sets the tone, and we fixed so much. We have a revitalization plan. We are moving out of the debacle that happened, the unfortunate EB5. But that was a situation, and it happened. And it was a handful of people who created that situation. And there was, time served, and there were taxes collected on a minimal amount of revenue coming in, because we have the infamous hole. But the bottom line is we have a revitalization plan now, discussions with the receiver, discussions with the state, all good things happening that leave opportunities open. And I am proud to have been part of making sure that that happened under my time here as your mayor.
So what has, you meet with people on a regular, you have time with the mayor, or I'm not sure what.
Sure. Yeah.
You have
I don't know what we should.
regular meetings.
The mayor's hours.
Yeah, and people surprised that you're not running.
Yes. Yes, people were surprised. In fact, I have to tell you, Scott, that I have been overwhelmingly humbled by the amount of people who have written to me or contacted me and asked me to please reconsider to run once again for another term. And it is every day. And it is something that one really needs to reconsider when so many people come out and ask you. And so I am digesting all of their emails and their requests, because I'm listening to their positions, and I do not take their positions lightly.
So you're reconsidering your decision?
No, I'm reassessing their emails and their communications to me, and I will always give weight to what they say. And so I'm evaluating what they're asking.
You know, I've been joking with the producer, Anto. whose father was the mayor of the city. I said, well, shouldn't that hold the dynasty and have the new generation coming on board, and so eloquently told me where I could probably stick that. He has no desire to follow in your footsteps.
Well, I'm hoping that the younger generation does do that eventually, when they're ready. I think the key here is that people need to understand that this is not just a ceremonial position, because they need to really read the charter. And as I said, the mayor is the CEO, and the mayor needs to have the qualifications, and the mayor needs to have the commitment to come in and work. So, this is not just, call me, for a council meeting. This is a day-to-day interaction as a CEO of overseeing operations, overseeing those who are appointed within what I call the mayor's cabinet. So all of your department heads are your mayor's cabinet, and you have to oversee those department heads. And that's what the mayor is charged to do. And it is very clear in the charter where it says that it is the mayor's responsibility to make sure that they do their jobs. Nobody else's responsibility. The CEO, the mayor's responsibility, which means you better understand business. You better have experience in business. You better understand government operations. You better be willing to step in, leave your political agendas aside, have the time to do it, and really care about what you want the outcomes to be. My big thing, and what I was going to be presenting in my next, what I started to present and was going to continue to present, was that I really believed that we needed to have a council consensus and goals. And I thought it was really important that we put together policies and projects that actually had an impact on the city and the residents, businesses, and the community as whole. We needed to strive for policies as a council, as a unit, that gave a better quality of life. We needed to be fiscally responsible, which was my main goal in the very beginning and still always would be. We needed to protect our environment for future generations. We need to build a forward-thinking city. We need to improve traffic safety, update economic development, work on workforce development and housing. But we needed a goal as a council. And so the council also, what I did while I was here, they needed to understand as aldermen what their roles were. And once we became a council during the time we were together, what our role was. And there needed to not be this, I'll run amok and do this and I'll run amok and do that, which I have seen over the historic years. That's not the way you do things. And so I believe we are on the right path right now, and I hope that it doesn't stop for the benefit of all in the city of Newport.
One thing people need to consider is of the worldwide media is the image is, when you're doing things a certain way, your image is flashed out all over the world, and I'm often surprised that some people who say they want the best for Newport, some of them, I'm not saying all, are actually dragging it down.
And I agree with you, and to the sadness of Newport, there are a bunch of naysayers who come in here who just have clearly their own agenda, but they've cost the city tens of thousands of dollars and will continue to do that because they want to see their name in the news. They want to pretend that they're professionals in the area. Well, some of them are not even paraprofessionals in the field, but they want to band together and do any kind of debate that's a negative debate because they don't want anything to change, because if it changes, they won't have a forum to just be naysayers. And sadly, the press likes this drama. Local press likes more of this, gossip style storytelling, regardless of whether there's truth to it. And as long as you can band together and keep it going, which, it's happened from the first day I came on, I saw it happening. I looked back at historical TV shows of the city, and I said, well, this has been going on, just, it's escalated. And, the sad part is, you're absolutely right. This is a bad habit because it's costly to the city. This bad press, which thankfully I believe, the appropriate leaders in Vermont know that it's just nonsensical stories. But it would be better if the press was actually more responsible.
I did a media outlet, and they never followed through on it, but they were going to do a piece. It was a statewide piece about why downtowns around the state now have revitalized themselves. And they were, let's be real, Newport still struggles. Everybody looks at what they call the hole or the pit, the old Newberry's building and such. And they were going to, like when I was growing Hardwick was a out town. It was a tough town. It was the place for Halloween. What you go to Hardwick now, it's not a bustling city, but it's a very happening community now. So much positive is going on where you have the newcomers seem to be, they might not always agree, but they seem to be working together.
And that's the key. Work together for common good, not say this is what the common good should be, and if you don't do it my way, then I'm going to spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing everything I possibly can to do my own nonsensical stories and cost the city money and make sure the press is bad press. The press is political. At least here it is, the local press. And so, you want to write stories. Don't you really want the people of Newport to know that there are good things now going on here? Because I know that the state knows that there are. The state understands that we have good resources. We have a revitalization plan where we've looked at all these buildings and we've looked at the opportunities and we're putting that forward and we're working with professionals. But, as I said, there's always a group that says, I don't care. It has escalated, and it's gotten to the point of, it's almost like stalking, elected officials. It's at the point where it's just harassing our attorneys, filing irresponsible complaints against our attorneys. I mean, it is just the most stunning organized activity that I have ever seen, but to no avail. At the end of the day, all you're doing is making noise and satisfying your own ego. It's the city that you should be concerned about, especially when your stories get out there. There's going to be story, there are disgruntled employees. Well, there's disgruntled employees across the world. Okay. So if you want to ban the disgruntled employees with these naysayers, and if those disgruntled employees were the ones that the naysayers wanted to continue the way the city was running, of course you're going to get these crazy stories. Okay. But these are council decisions. And these are sensitive employee decisions that come to the council, and they do not take these decisions lightly. They're well vetted, they're looked at. We know what goes on behind the scenes with these employees, and it's our responsibility to not bring that out because you don't want to harm an employee. But they're going to make noise. We're not going to come out and respond to their noise. They're employees, they're disgruntled, move on. We're going to fix the city with the appropriate definition of the operations that need to be in the city.
It's amazing. We're already down to just 10 minutes. Came up in the last year that obviously had nothing that had anything to do with the governing body. Hospital, facing some serious issues of their own making, but now they have some serious issues they're facing. What role do you think the city has to play in?
So, Scott, to your point, I think that the mayor is vital to that. If you know, I went up to Montpelier and did an entire press conference with an analysis of that. I've spoken to the leaders in the legislature. I've spoken to Green Mountain Care Board. I've spoken to the administration, and I intend to continue to do that. Remember, I am also a women's commissioner. I'm also been appointed to various boards and committees by the governor, and I intend to be actively involved. It is very important. I believe I have the respect from the administration for my, 3 terms being up there as a legislature, as well as being on all of these committees. I know the news got that wrong. They said I was there for 3 years, and I was there for 3 terms, which is 6 years. But I intend to make sure that Newport actually keeps their hospital, and I will be a strong voice there. And I intend to be a strong voice on all the important issues for the state as well as for Newport.
So now if you do follow through and you do not run for real time, are you going back to Montpelier in some form?
Well, I am a women commissioner, and so that's for the state. So I will be up there following bills, et cetera, on behalf of, for the priorities we set. I'm on the Aviation Advisory Council, so I'll be going to those meetings and participating strongly. I have a strong aviation background. That council, I'm on the Workforce Development Board now. I'll be up there. I will be watching. I'm also on the Housing Authority committee. So I am definitely going to be up in Montpelier, and I'm also going to be watching very closely on various priorities and how it affects Newport. So I will be not up there as a legislator, but I will be up there in my other capacities.
Yeah, because I've noticed you've house, and I've noticed you've had a appointment. I believe a couple new appointments.
Yes. So I have like a total of 4 appointments right now. And so I'm looking forward to doing my best for the state.
Are you going to, even though you're going to be working and you're going to be working, trying to work for the city, because you're still going to call this home? Are you still calling Newport home, or are you moving, or?
Of course, we live here. That's how come I qualified to run. And so, yes, we live here. And as I said, I'm looking closely at the requests of the constituents, seeing what their needs are, and I will not abandon the constituent base.
No, what I was have any plans to move. Not that whether you live here now.
I don't think there's a requirement. I don't think that if you don't run for mayor, you have to leave the city.
No,
I'm being facetious.
So tied up. and so, in other words, you're going to continue to work for Newport because you live, whether you're mayor or not, you still live here. So you're you still need it livable.
Of course. And I will be a strong voice. And I will be a positive voice.
Yeah, because I do think got to have some positivity, because is despite, you know, even I'm the guy with the rose colors who tries to see positive in more. But you know, Wednesdays on the
absolutely.
Waterfront events. You know, sometimes I'm like anybody else. I look like, oh, this change is going slow. You want it to happen yesterday, but it doesn't always happen like that.
Well, you know, we're such, you know, instant gratification species, and it just doesn't happen that way. We have to be patient, but we do have to have goals, and we do have to have a strategic plan on how to get there. And that's what I found was missing in our city. Our city was a, hey, you know, this is kind of a good old club way to run things. Let's just keep it going that way, and we'll worry about it later. And if we use this slogan of, well, we're only as smart as what we're told, you know what? Shame on that style council. We need to be smart, and we need to pay attention.
Do you have any information that you can share about? Is there any plans for the hole in the ground, the lot?
It's part of the revitalization. It's part of the revitalization plan that we have approved as a council. So it's in there as one of the opportunities, depending upon which opportunity goes forward and how the financing of that particular opportunity goes. And so that will be part of the determinations of how to continue negotiations. And I sure hope they get a really smart business person in here who has a similar background to mine, who's been a receiver and knows how to negotiate appropriately. And so there are options for that. But, you know, of course, you know, there has to be an agreement. A receiver has a responsibility to go before the court. But I have found that the receiver is open and willing to speaking with me. I haven't had any issues with that at all.
Right. So how long does it? So, well, is the law, or is that still just in a hold?
No, there's been no, it's not up for sale in an official way, but the receiver is taking people who are approaching and making an offer out there, but it has not been followed through because that particular opportunity did not complement the city's position at this point in time on what's best for the city. But that doesn't mean that it might not go forward once a different person comes in to lead the city, if that actually comes to fruition, if it is a different person who comes in to lead the city.
Okay, well, we've got to wrap it up here.
Thank you so much.
That happened quick.
Thank
you. It's been good having you on the show as usual, and it looked. I don't know if I'm not sure if it's the last we've seen of you and your of mayor. I'm going to put any money on it, but I'm still not.
Well, thank you.
Well,
and I will definitely keep you apprised. Thank you so much.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in.